In the vast cold darkness of the galaxy, Earth had gone silent. At first, it was nothing. A glitch, some thought. Humans had always been loud, sending signals, ships, music, even jokes into space. But then, they stopped. One day the signals just ended. No more probes, no more colonies, no more exploration. Silence, the Galactic Council noticed. At first, they waited. Then they wondered. Finally, they forgot. For nearly 200 years, humans stayed hidden inside their system, speaking to no one, responding to nothing. Their last message was short and strange, 2 words. Not yet. Most didn't understand it. Some believed it was a warning. Others laughed and called it cowardice. The galaxy was full of new voices. No rising empires, brave explorers, growing alliances. Earth, once exciting, was now just a ghost world. Many young species had never even heard of humans, but the old ones remembered. They remembered the wars, that humanity had stopped, the threats they had erased, the science they had shared. They remembered when humans stood tall, messy, loud, full of emotion, but also fearless, and then they disappeared. Year after year, alien ships passed by the solar system. None dared enter. Some tried. They were never heard from again. Most blamed pirates or space storms. Few whispered the same thing. Earth is still watching, but nothing moved. The blue planet spun quietly around its star. The moon remained lifeless. Mars was empty again. Earth's sky was silent until now. On the edge of the galactic core, deep inside a giant council station, a meeting was called. The topic, the solar system. After 2 centuries of silence, many saw it as wasted space. Valuable resources, untapped. Worlds a sun with steady energy. The younger species wanted it. They're gone, said one diplomat. 200 years of silence. What does that tell you? They were dying, said another. Too emotional, too soft. Their species must have collapsed. They simply lost the will to grow, someone else added. They chose peace, and peace made them weak. After many hours of debate, a vote was taken. It was decided the solar system would be divided. One race would take Mars, another would mine the asteroid belt, a third would turn Earth into a nature reserve. No one asked permission. No one expected resistance. That was their mistake. 3 weeks later, something changed. A signal. It came from Earth's moon. Weak, old, crackling, but real. A short, simple code. The same 2 words from centuries ago, sent again. Blinking across frequencies in every known galactic language, not yet. Panic spread. Ships were pulled back. Scout missions were canceled. The Galactic Council called for quiet. Who sent that message? What did it mean? Most believed it was a glitch. Some thought it was a leftover satellite. 1 or 2 suspected the truth. Among them was Kren Tal, a historian from the Yulani race. He had studied Earth's past for 50 years. He knew humans were not weak. He knew they didn't just vanish. He sat in a quiet room, reading their old records wars, art, philosophy. One line from an ancient human book repeated in his mind: the most dangerous creature is the one that waits. He wasn't the only one who felt the air change. Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. On the edge of a trade route, a merchant ship spotted something massive between the stars. It was a ship, but not like any seen before. No name, no markings. It didn't respond to hails. It moved like a ghost. And then it vanished. Elsewhere, a deep space probe exploring near Jupiter suddenly stopped transmitting. Its last image showed an artificial structure rising from the clouds of the gas giant. A station? A shipyard? No one could tell. But one detail chilled the council. The design was unmistakably human. Still, many chose to ignore it. Until a salvage crew went missing. They were scavengers. Small-time pirates who entered the solar system to steal old tech from Earth's orbit. They never returned. All except one. His ship floated back alone, drifting near Saturn, silent. When a rescue team brought him aboard, he was shaking, blood-streaked, eyes wide. What happened? Yes, they're awake, he whispered. They were never gone. They're awake. The council demanded answers. Experts were sent. Analysts reviewed the data, and then came the final proof. A transmission, caught by a long-range telescope on a mining moon. A voice calm, cold, clearly human. Observation period has ended. Prepare for response. The galaxy held its breath. Some called for peace. Others armed themselves. A few still believed it was a trick. But Earth said nothing more. Ships that approached the edge of the solar system were watched. Some were turned away by invisible fields. A few disappeared completely. The area became known as the Quiet Zone. And in that silence, Earth prepared. Underground cities lit up again. Orbital stations powered on. Massive carriers, hidden in the shadows of icy moons, warmed their engines. AI defense systems updated their protocols. Old soldiers, kept in cryosleep, were awakened. And deep below the surface of Mars, a human general opened her eyes for the first time in 150 years. Her name was Commander Celine Ward. She stepped out of the pod, stretched her stiff arms, and looked at the glowing screen in front of her. Reactivation protocol confirmed. She turned to her AI assistant, a glowing orb beside her. How long? She asked. 197 years since Earth went silent, it replied. And the council? They voted. They think we're gone. A slow smile spread across her face. Then it's time to remind them. Across the galaxy. Ships moved, factions formed, panic grew, but Earth remained quiet. No speeches, no warnings, no attacks. Just preparation. Because humans had not disappeared, they had retreated. Not in fear, but in discipline. They watched, they learned. They waited, and now they were done waiting. The stars near the solar system had always been quiet. For most ships, it was routine to avoid that region marked on maps with one warning. Restricted zone, human space, no contact. But some didn't care. Captain Relth of the Starcrawler was one of them. His crew was made of thieves, scavengers, and mercs. They didn't fear legends. They hunted for forgotten tech, and Earth's orbit was full of its satellites, stations, wrecks from old wars. All just floating, unguarded. Easy money, Relth said, as they crossed Neptune's orbit. The monkeys are extinct. What are they going to do? Throw rocks at us? The crew laughed. But Engineer Voka didn't smile. She stared at her screen. Uneasy. Something's wrong with the sensors. What kind of wrong? Relth asked, annoyed. No heat, no motion. But something's there. It's watching us. Relth scoffed. You're spooked by ghost stories. But she wasn't wrong. 2 hours later, all communication cut out. The stars outside the window dimmed literally, as if something enormous blocked them. The crew rushed to the main deck. What the hell is that? A shadow moved across there. Path massive, silent. It wasn't a ship. It was bigger. It had no engines. No lights, just ... presence. A low hum began inside the ship. Not from outside, but from within the walls. The ship's AI screamed errors. Lights flickered. People screamed. And then, silence. The Starcrawler was gone. 6 days later, a lone escape pod drifted toward the outer colonies. Inside was Voka barely alive. Her body was burned. Her eyes stared blankly. She was repeating the same words again and again. They're awake. They're awake. News spread like wildfire. A full report was sent to the Galactic Council. Experts studied the pod's data logs. What they found shocked them. Final recording from the Starcrawler bridge showed a shadow. And then a shape sharp, black, angular, human. Not like the old ships in their museums. This one was new, advanced, and deadly. The council panicked. This cannot be real, said one member. They're extinct. Clearly not, replied another. And they don't want to be found. An emergency vote was held. Should they investigate? Contact Earth? Attack? Most agreed. Send a scout drone first. A stealth probe, quiet, unarmed. Just a look. It entered. The solar system? 5 days later, It lasted only 7 minutes. The final image it transmitted showed a colossal structure above Saturn. It was shaped like a ring, with glowing blue lines and hundreds of docked ships, human ships. But it wasn't the ships that scared the council. It was the writing across the station's outer shell. Observation Facility 12A, standby complete. Below. In another line, we remember everything. Across the galaxy, rumors turned into fear. Young species began to ask questions. Were the humans really? Why did they go silent? What were they preparing for? An old scholar named Elton, one of the few remaining who had spoken with humans, long ago stood before a university crowd and said, "You thought they vanished. They didn't. They paused." The galaxy never understood that humans don't quit. They adapt. They fall back only to rise harder. And if they are moving again, may the stars help us. Meanwhile, deep under the surface of Mars, Commander Celine Ward stood before a growing army. Soldiers of flesh and machine, hybrids, warburn, AI units with human memories, cryo-sleepers waking up with one mission in mind. She stared at the fleet. Screen 12 human dreadnoughts were now fully powered. 40 destroyers, hundreds of stealth fighters. The quiet had ended. "Status?" she asked. "Galactic Council is watching," replied the AI beside her. "They sent a drone. It was neutralized." Celine nodded. "And the message? Sent as instructed." Somewhere near the Council's core station, a screen lit up in their war room. No one had touched it, simply activated. A human figure appeared, blurred, face hidden in shadows. It spoke one sentence. "We offered peace. You offered greed. Now we offer remembrance." Then static, in panic, the Council called an emergency alliance. Factions that once hated each other now agreed on one thing. The humans must not rise again. They launched Operation Silence, a joint strike fleet of 50 warships. Their goal: enter the solar system, demand surrender, and dismantle all military installations. But Earth was ready. The fleet entered near Neptune. At first, all was calm. Then the stars blinked. It wasn't a trick of light. It was war. Human stealth mines detonated across the fleet. Half the ships were gone in the first 30 seconds. The rest tried to retreat, but found their drives jammed. By a frequency they couldn't decode, one admiral screamed into comms, "We surrender. We surrender." No response. Instead, from the darkness beyond Neptune, a single ship appeared. It was the Dauntless, a legendary human flagship thought to be destroyed 100 years ago. It moved without sound. No shields, no weapons glowing, and yet it was unstoppable. The Council fleet scattered. Only 2 ships survived. They limped home with burnt hulls and frightened crews. When they arrived, they carried a message beamed directly into their comes before release. This was restraint. Remember that? In the days that followed, Earth still said nothing more. No transmissions, no diplomats, no threats, just silence. But everyone knew now. It wasn't the silence of death. It was the silence before a storm. Alien colonies near Earth began to evacuate. Trade routes shifted. Academies started teaching human history, again trying to understand what had returned. The answer was clear. They had never left. They had just gone dark, and now they had come back with purpose. Back on Mars, Celine stood inside the command dome. She spoke to her generals. "Let them fear," she said calmly. "Let them remember what they forgot. We never wanted war. But if they bring it, we will finish it." "Message from outer sectors," the AI announced. "Several races want talks. They say they want peace." Celine raised an eyebrow. "After all this time?" "Yes." She thought for a moment, then spoke slowly. "Tell them, we already gave them peace. For 200 years, they'll see what we've prepared instead." The Galactic Council had made its decision. They called it Operation Compliance. 50 ships hadn't been enough. So now they've prepared a force 5 times larger, a full battle group of 243 warships, led by dreadnoughts from 5 different species. It was the largest united military armada ever sent into one star system. They told their people, it's not a war, it's just a show of force. But deep inside, everyone knew it was fear. The humans had been quiet for 2 centuries. But in less than a month, they had erased scout drones, destroyed fleets, and brought silence back not by hiding, but by striking. Still, some leaders believed the humans were bluffing. Their strength was old, limited, and running on ancient tech. "We go in," said Admiral Kor of the Zyari Empire. "We surround Earth. We demand surrender, and we take their system." The plan was simple. What followed was not. The fleet entered the solar system just past Pluto. Cameras recorded their arrival. Banners of peace flew beside the warships more for politics than truth. At first, nothing happened. Jupiter turned slowly. Saturn's rings sparkled as always. No resistance. The admirals relaxed. "This is a bluff," one said. "They have no real power left." They were wrong. 3 hours after entry, every ship's com screen turned black. Then one word appeared. In white. In Terran Standard, remember. It blinked once, then disappeared. Immediately after, the flagship Glory of Dawn exploded. No weapons fired. No enemy ships in sight. It simply detonated from inside. Panic hit the fleet. All ships, defensive formation. But it was too late. From the dark side of Neptune, human stealth ships uncloaked. Sleek, black, fast and like any designs the galaxy had seen. They didn't open communication. They didn't negotiate. They attacked. One by one, the Council ships were ripped apart. Not just destroyed, but humiliated. Their shields collapsed without warning. Their AIs were overwritten mid-battle. Their own weapons turned against them. "What is happening?" screamed Admiral Kerr. An AI voice answered on all ships. "It wasn't theirs. You were warned. You ignored it. This was your mistake." Back on Earth, Commander Celine Ward watched the battle unfold from orbit. She stood aboard the Vanguard, the largest human warship ever built. Not yet revealed, not yet needed, her second-in-command, Captain Wren, spoke softly. "They sent a fleet to conquer. Now they send escape pods." Celine didn't smile. "They made the first mistake," she said. "We will make the last one. Cross." The solar system human tech reawakened. Massive hangars on the moon opened. Weapon satellites unfolded from the crust of Mercury. AI-controlled fleets rose from the oceans of Earth hidden for centuries. Earth had been building. Every year, every month, every second of silence had been preparation. Now, Galaxy would see the result. Of the 243 Council ships, only 7 survived. They were allowed to escape. It wasn't mercy. It was a message. Inside each retreating ship, humans left one file. Encrypted. And unremovable. When the files were finally opened on the Council homeworld, they revealed hours of footage. Humans training, building, watching, thousands of AI models, simulating interstellar wars in silence, and finally, a single line spoken by Commander Celine herself. "We gave you peace. You mistook it for weakness. You forced silence upon us. We turned it into strength. You came to break us, and now the galaxy breaks instead." The Council crumbled. Panic swept across its members. Allies began blaming each other. The Zyari called the humans devils. The Varnok called them gods. Some begged Earth for mercy. Some prepared for war. A few simply vanished. The galaxy had changed overnight, but the humans didn't invade. Didn't move beyond their system. No colonization, no demands, no ultimatums, just silence. Again, this time, the silence was worse. In a dark office on a distant world, a former ambassador named Tiloth watched the reports. He was one of the few alive who had once spoken with humans before the quiet years. He remembered their fire, their sadness, their deep, strange hope. Now he saw none of it. Only calculation. "They're not angry," he whispered. "They're disappointed." And he knew what that meant. Humans hadn't returned for revenge. They had returned for judgment. Back. On Mars, Selene stood before a gathering of human commanders. She spoke calmly, her voice like steel. We will not conquer. We will not enslave. But we will not forget. Every species who stole from us, who invaded us, who laughed at our silence, will remember what it feels like to be small. The room was quiet. Then she added, we are not just human anymore. We are the echo of silence. We are finished waiting. The galaxy was broken, not by war, but by fear. After the failure of the largest fleet ever sent to Earth, the Galactic Council collapsed into confusion. Member species blamed each other, treaties shattered, and whispers filled the stars. What? Are the humans planning now? But no one knew. Earth stayed silent again. Not a single word. Not a single shot. And somehow, that made everything worse. In the far edge of the galaxy, the forgotten ruins of an old archive moon, an alien historian named Cale Vell found something unexpected. It was a file, old, cracked, partially corrupted, but readable. Its title was in human language, Project Emberfall, If the Galaxy Forgets. He decrypted it slowly, carefully, line by line, and what he found made his blood freeze. Inside the file was a full outline, a plan, 2 centuries old, dated exactly 2 years after humans stopped speaking to the galaxy. It wasn't a defense plan. It wasn't revenge. It was a strategy for patience, a cold, precise roadmap of how to retreat from the stars, how to appear dead, how to watch silently as the galaxy turned against itself. And if that happened, the next phase would begin. Emberfall awakening. Cale read the list of protocols. Cryosleep legions beneath Mars and Europa AI command cores. Embedded in Saturn's rings, memory-shielded sleeper agents in alien governments. Orbital cloaked shipyards powered by solar microcores. Empathy filters on all responses to prevent Merciand at the bottom. One sentence. We will not raise our voice until they scream. We'll not raise our hands until they strike. But once we rise, we'll not sleep again. Cale ran to his people. He begged for peace. But it was too late. Another empire had already sent scouts to test Earth's outer defenses. They didn't return. This time, Earth did speak. But not through voice, through action. Across 14 planets, corrupt leaders began to vanish, not killed, erased, removed so cleanly their governments couldn't explain it. In their place, screens lit up in the skies above cities. A symbol, a white, flame on black. Below it, 5 words, this is not your punishment. The galaxy panicked. Was Earth invading? No ships were seen. Was this a threat? No demands were made. What was happening? But Cale Vell knew. It was the old soldiers, the ones who had waited, trained, slept in metal coffins for 200 years. Men and women who had once worn Earth's banner when peace was still a dream. They had returned, not to conquer, to correct, deep beneath. Mars Commander Selene Ward stood in the silence of the command chamber. Holograms of 100 systems floated in the air, each one marked with red point targets, not military bases, not weapons. People who had led invasions during Earth's silence, pirates who had raided Terran colonies, leaders who had mocked humanity in front of the stars. Selene's voice was cold. No war, no invasion. We hit the heart. Remove the poison. Let them see their monsters fall and know who came to take them. Her captains nodded. She raised her hand. Initiate Operation Emberfall. The galaxy watched in horror. They expected fleets, bombs, destruction. Instead, they saw their own leaders arrested in front of their citizens by strangers in black armor who vanished moments later. Systems thought to be stable collapsed into panic. But still, Earth did not take control. It simply disappeared again, except for one message. A single audio clip broadcast across all major frequencies. We do not want your lands. We do not. Want your gold? We only wanted peace. You denied it. Now you will have justice instead. Cale Vell met with other historians, translators, and scientists. We must understand them, he said. We must know what they've become. But one elder spoke. They are no longer human. They are something else now. Their bodies may look the same, but their minds, our minds, are forged in silence. Kale thought back to something he read in the file. Emotion is our gift. Memory is our fire. But in silence, we become steel. That line repeated in his mind like a warning. 1 week later, another fleet tried to challenge Earth. A small empire, arrogant, proud, rich, believed. The humans were bluffing. They sent 15 warships to teach Earth a lesson. They never made it past Mars, from the planet's surface. Ancient defense systems activated mass drivers that fired magnetic slugs at the speed of light. The ships were torn apart before they even saw what hit them. One survivor floated in an escape pod picked up days later. His eyes were wide, his voice shaky. They didn't fight us, he whispered. They deleted us. In time, the galaxy began to understand. Earth didn't want a throne. It wanted memory. It wanted the stars to remember what had happened when humanity offered friendship and received betrayal. Now it was offering truth, cold, clear, unavoidable, and, backed by a silence so loud the stars began to listen, back in her chamber. Celine stood alone, watching the stars. She whispered to herself, "Old soldiers never sleep. We only wait, and now they've given us a reason to open our eyes." Behind her, the AI spoke softly. "Do we strike again?" Celine shook her head. "No, not yet. Let the galaxy breathe. Let them think. Let them choose. And if they choose war?" She turned, then smiled. "Then we show them what patience became." For the first time in history, every major species in the galaxy gathered in one place. The location, the council planet of Helion Prime. A massive, floating world city built for peace. Once proud, now shaking with fear. Every screen played the same message. Judgment protocol activated. No one knew what it meant, but everyone knew who sent it. The humans had not attacked again. They hadn't invaded. The silence had returned. Heavier this time. Like a storm above a city waiting to strike. Admirals, kings, warlords, scientists all stood in the Grand Assembly Hall. Even those who once mocked humanity had now come, not with threats but with pleas. One elder of the Gennari Confederacy said, "We must stop this. Earth doesn't want power. They want justice." A young general from the Varnak Empire replied then, "Let them take it from us. They're ready for war." But as he spoke, the sky darkened. A giant shadow passed over the council hall. People screamed. Some fell to their knees. Above the city hovered a massive human warship, larger than anything in known records, 10 times the size of a dreadnought. It didn't fire, didn't speak. It simply watched. Below it, screens lit up across every building on the planet. A woman appeared. Human.com, Strong Talk Commander Celine Ward. She looked directly into the camera, and the entire galaxy felt it. "I speak not for conquest," she said, "but for memory." Her voice was low, steady. "You took our silence as surrender. You claimed our world. You called us extinct. You stole our homes, murdered our settlers, and laughed at our retreat." She paused, eyes focused. We watched, and we remembered. Behind her, images began flashing on the screens. Human refugees frozen in space by alien pirates. Earth diplomats killed during peace talks. Children pulled from colonies as slaves by laughing invaders. The council voting to divide Earth without permission. "We stayed silent because we believed you would grow wiser," Lean said, "but you didn't. You grew proud, violent, cruel." Another pause, and then now, Judgment Protocol begins. In that moment across the galaxy. Human sleeper fleets activated. They appeared in orbit above 8 major homeworlds, silent, armed, but not firing. On each planet, a list was transmitted. A list of names, not civilians, not leaders of nations. Criminals, war profiteers, mass murderers, pirates, slavers, people who had destroyed human lives during the quiet. Yerzand had never been punished. Earth had watched them, tracked them, And now, Earth came for them. Back on Hellion Prime, a Varnak noble shouted, "Is this justice? This is tyranny," Selena's voice replied. "Not from speakers, but from the air itself. Then explain why no innocent has died. Explain why our fleets haven't fired a single shot unless attacked. Explain why your people are still alive while ours are buried in the dust of forgotten colonies." Silence. One by one. Planetary governments gave in. They handed over the names, not by force, by shame, and every time they did, human fleets withdrew without damage. Quiet, efficient, cold. One elder whispered, "They're not fighting wars. They're ending patterns." On the moon, in a chamber of black glass, Selene met with her AI War Council. "Judgment is underway," the AI said. Global reactions vary. Resistance? Minimal? Most are stunned. Some are grateful, the AI showed. Clips? Freed slaves on a desert moon, hugging human soldiers. Former colonies cheering as warlords were arrested. Even alien children waving at passing human ships. Selene watched it all. Her face stayed calm, but her voice softened.
They feared us.
Now they understand. We are not here to burn the stars. We're here to remind them what the stars forgot. Then came a message from the council itself. A request, not for surrender, not for mercy, but for talks. Peace talks. Selene stood again before the galaxy. This time, she wore no armor. No symbols of war, only the uniform of Earth's last peacekeeper corps long. "Forgotten, I will speak," she said. "But not to bargain, not to beg. We already gave you peace. You ignored it. We gave you warnings. You laughed, gave you silence, and you turned it into blood." She leaned closer to the camera. "And now you will listen. On Hellion Prime, a new treaty was signed, not written by lawyers, written by history. It was simple. Human space would never be entered again without permission. Any crimes against the Terran people, past or future, would be judged by Earth's own tribunals. And above all, no species shall ever declare Earth silent again, because now, Earth listens, and Earth remembers." In a school on a small alien colony, a child raised her hand. "Teacher," she asked, "are the humans our enemies?" The old teacher smiled gently. "No, they are not enemies. Then what are they?" The teacher looked at the sky, where a human ship passed in silence. "They are the judgment we never thought would come, and the peace we never deserved." The galaxy was quiet, not because of fear, but because it was listening. For the first time in generations, war had stopped. The Council no longer sent fleets. No one dared cross into human space. Pirate lords vanished. Slave markets shut down. Border raids disappeared. Peace had returned, but it wasn't born from kindness. It came from memory. The humans never invaded. They judged, corrected, then left. Now the stars were asking the same question. What happens next? On a cold learning world? Near the edge of the rim, a young alien student sat quietly in the university's library. His name was Thierry,
Ace.
and he was studying human history. Around him were digital pages from Earth's past. Books, songs, war records, philosophy. For days he had read, studied, listened, and then found it, buried deep in a forgotten archive. A message recorded 207 years ago, before the quiet years began. It was from a human woman, not a soldier. Not a leader, just a teacher. Her name was Alina Voss. Her words were shaky, full of hope and sadness. If you're hearing this, then Earth has been silent for a long time. Maybe you think we gave up. Maybe you think we died. But silence isn't the end. Sometimes it's the start of something deeper. We're not leaving the stars. We're stepping back, because we're becoming something the galaxy isn't ready for yet. We're going to wait, and when we return, we won't bring war. We'll bring consequences. Thierry sat still for a long time. No one had forced Earth to vanish. They had chosen it. They knew what was coming. They knew what the galaxy was becoming. And they had stepped away not because they were weak, because they hoped it would change without their hand. It hadn't, so they came back. Not with fire, with memory years past. Commander Celine Ward stood at the edge of Earth's high orbit, watching the sunrise from the command deck of the Vanguard. Below her, the planet spun in silence green, blue, whole, peaceful. Around her were no weapons. No alarms, just the hum of systems and soft lights. A voice came through the comms, "Ma'am, final withdrawal complete." She nodded. "And damage to alien systems?" "None. We completed the operation with 0 planetary strikes." Celine breathed slowly. "It's done then." "Yes, Commander. Judgment is over." She looked out the window. "Good. Then let's rest." In the years that followed, humans never expanded. They did not build an empire. They shared no rulers, claimed no worlds, asked for no tribute, but they were respected, because now every being in the galaxy understood one thing: when Earth is silent, the galaxy is safe. But when Earth speaks, it's already too late to run. On a backwater moon, a wandering poet told a story to children near a fire. He had once seen a human up close. During the judgment, he never forgot it. He pointed at the stars and said, "Long ago we thought the humans were gone, but they were never gone. They became the storm hiding in the sky, and when the winds rose, they did not shout. They whispered, and that whisper changed everything." A child raised her hand. What was the whisper? The old poet smiled sadly and replied, "We waited." Elsewhere, in a museum built above a former battlefield, a monument was unveiled. It had no weapons, no names, no flags, just a tall metal sculpture of a human figure standing silently, head bowed. One hand behind their back, a plaque read, "To those who waited, to those who remembered. You taught us that silence is not weakness. It is the final kindness before the storm." Back in the stars, Earth remained still. Its ships watched quietly. Its skies remained closed. But in one distant outpost, a small strange signal was sent. Not to threaten, not to warn, just music. A song, old, peaceful, filled with soft human voices. And across the stars, for those who chose to listen, the meaning was finally clear. The message was never silent. We just refused to hear it.